Hello everyone and welcome back to Casual Comic Fans. If you're new to the channel, I am Mike from Comic Book Fans, and today we're going to be talking about Superman and Lois. Now, Luke and I have not done any reviews of the episodes lately. It's just been kind of hectic with life. But this is going to be kind of a mid-season review because we're kind of in the middle of the season, and I'm going to be doing the last few episodes, episodes 6, 7, and 8. I haven't watched the new one, episode 9, as of this recording, but I'm sure it's good. So there's supposed to be 15 or 16 episodes, so we're right about the halfway mark of this series, and I gotta say, it's going pretty well so far. Like, I'm kind of surprised, like, when the first trailer dropped, obviously, we've talked about this before, but I was really pretty interested from right when the first trailer dropped, and the actual show itself has proved to be just as interesting, if not better. So I'm kind of surprised, especially coming from the CW. It seems for some reason they have hired really, really good writers for this series, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on in this video, but the other CW shows just don't have writers anywhere close to this caliber. I don't know where they found these guys or why they don't have them writing for other shows, but anyway, I'm not going to be breaking down like every single part of each episode. I'm going to basically just kind of cover the highlights and then talk about like what stood out to me. So anyway, without further ado, episode 6. So first of all, this episode was more about kind of Clark trying to show Jordan how to use his powers correctly, because this whole episode Jordan really wants to, he's kind of struggling with his powers. He's having like headaches, and he's had like a couple episodes where he almost loses control of his laser vision, and this happens once at school and yada yada. So Clark notices something's going on with him, and after everything that's been going on, he doesn't really want, he's thinking that Jordan shouldn't be playing football right now because he's not really controlling his powers super well, and Jordan really wants to play this game because it's a game against Metropolis High, which is like all the kids that used to pick on Jordan are going to be playing, and wants to show them up. So Clark is trying to explain to him, like, you're not supposed to use your powers for personal gain. You're supposed to use them, to help people. You can't let yourself lose control and basically, use your powers in a vindictive way, and Jordan doesn't really want to hear it. And Clark eventually relents and lets him play in the game. Fast forward, like during all this, Morgan Edge promotes Lana Lang to basically be, like one of his leaders, and then he assigns her to, well, actually that's a later episode, and her husband is upset that he didn't choose him, but there is like a reconciling moment where him and Lana, he basically puts his own feelings aside and is happy for his wife. Anyway, fast forward to the game. Jordan and John play against Metropolis. They do well. Jordan starts going after this one kid because, he's being a dick. And he gets really upset because I'm pretty sure they dogpile Vision in his eyes, his hands. And it was a really cool scene, something we've never really seen before. I mean, I question it a little bit because it seems like heat vision normally hurts Superman. Like, I'm sure that hurt, but you didn't really see that much of a mark on his hands. Maybe it's because it doesn't hurt enough to leave a mark, or because Jordan isn't powerful enough. But anyway, it was still a really cool scene to see, something I don't think we've ever seen before. So that was pretty cool. Later in the episode, Lois, figures out that the stranger, Captain Luthor, isn't really who he seems, and she kind of confronts him. They still end up working together a little bit, and Clark ends up going into, I believe it's this episode, Clark goes into Captain Luthor's trailer and basically is looking for stuff, and then the AI says, like, is that you, Captain Luthor? And he's like, oh crap, Lex Luthor? So then there's that big reveal, and that's gonna, move further into the other episodes. But basically, by the end of this episode, Clark gives Jordan a little lecture, yada yada, and we see Jordan be confronted with his team at the Smallville High. The football team of Smallville gets confronted by the douchebag jocks of the Metropolis team. Ends up throwing a punch at, I believe, the quarterback of the Metropolis team, like not holding back fist and blocking the blow, but it ends up breaking John's hand. So yikes. And almost as like, well, not almost, definitely with a parallel to that, we see Superman trying to help Tag, who has kidnapped Sarah, trying to figure out what the heck is going on with him. But yeah, Superman basically shows up, tries to help Tag, but the DOD wants to capture Tag and neutralize him. They even are using live rounds. Kind of not as much as I expected, but anyway, then we get to see pissed off Superman, which is, I think, the first time we have seen this in, might kind of deserve it, And then we see Jordan, who's basically trying to use his powers just to, basically kind of for his own feelings. He wants to, take out his own sort of mini revenge against these jerks that bullied him. And we kind of see that later. Clark kind of gives Jordan a lecture, but he also tells him, like, I have the same feelings you have. I have and still have them, but I need to keep them in check, and so do you. And that really kind of changed Jordan's perspective a little bit. So moving on, next episode we have Morgan Edge, yada yada. He's he's promoted Lana. He's putting her in charge of finding these people to kind of be part of, it's kind of like a leadership team that he's having her put together. But anyway, also Captain Luthor and Lois get to talking, because Lois is like, who the heck are you? Are you freaking Lex Luthor? And he, there's not a whole lot exchanged there, but basically it comes to a head. Morgan sets a trap where he sends out some of the ex-kryptonite to see who shows up to stop the shipment. Luthor, or the Stranger, ends up showing up and, stopping the shipment, and Lois and Clark show up just in time to kind of, I don't know, make sure he doesn't do anything crazy. And at that point they set up a meeting where Luthor is going to meet with Superman. So in the last episode, I forgot to mention, Jordan had like a seizure at the end, and Clark rushed him off to the Fortress of Solitude, and it seems like they can't really find anything wrong with him. He's just not, he hasn't gained control of his powers yet. Jordan his super hearing kicks in, and he's just hearing everything. It's just overloading him. And so obviously Jordan and John are off the team, because Jordan, is obviously having problems with his hearing and everything, and John, his arm's broken now. So Jordan basically has to stay home until he can figure out how to focus in and only hear what he needs to hear. And by the end of this episode, he does figure that out. He ends up focusing solely on Sarah and hearing Sarah, but then he hears John talking to Sarah, and he gets all jealous, yada yada. It's kind of teen drama. Like, it's not the worst teen drama I've seen, but compared to everything else going on the show, the scale is pretty small. But anyway, so yeah, all that's happening. The meeting between Luthor and Superman happens. Before all that, we do see some flashbacks with Luthor and him being married to Lois and having a daughter named Natasha, I believe, or it's Natalie or Natasha. Let me check. But anyway, so his daughter's name is Natalie. In the comics, her name is Natasha. You'll see how I know this later. So basically, we see flashbacks, and we see that basically all of a sudden on Luthor's Earth, Superman and a bunch of these Kryptonians just rose out of the sky and started destroying everything. There's no real explanation for this. It's hard to tell if these are, Kryptonians, or if these are, the people that Morgan Edge is, creating. Obviously this is a different Earth, so it might be different anyway. So we also get to see Lois murdered by this version of Superman. He's got the black suit on, which is, signifying evil, even though he had it in the Death of Superman, whatever. But anyway, so yeah, he's got his black suit on, and he basically lasers Lois on live TV, and that's pretty shocking, obviously, for Luthor and his daughter. So before Superman goes to meet Luthor, he decides to check up on him with the DOD. They run out, they run his basically DNA or whatever they do with their database, and it turns out his name is John Henry Irons. So for those of you comic buffs or comic fans, you know who this guy is. This is Steel. And if you don't know who Steel is, he's basically been in the comics since the 90s, since the Reign of the Superman storyline, where Superman was killed by Doomsday and 4 other Supermen rose up, including John Henry Irons and Superboy. Now, John Henry Irons was basically, he looked up to Superman, and after he died, he formed his own, basically, it's like a lower tech Iron Man suit. He's got, and even has the cape, and he had the Superman S on his chest, and he has this big hammer, too. That's kind of his big thing, because his character is, loosely based off of, or at least inspired by the old, folktale and song of John Henry versus the Machine, whatever. We know this guy is John Henry Irons from another Earth. And apparently the John Henry Irons of this main Earth that we've been seeing everything happening unfold in, it died 6 years ago. So for whatever reason, he's dead, and this alternate universe John Henry Irons is, here to try and kill Superman. And why is he called Captain Luthor? Well, we'll get to that later. So basically, Superman shows up and he's like, who the hell are you? But during this whole time, John Henry Irons has been preparing for Superman to show up. So all of a sudden, these red sun lamps show up, and Superman's weakened. And apparently, John Henry's been making this hammer right out of the comics. Apparently, it, basically harnesses kinetic energy or momentum and just turns it into kinetic energy. And we just start smacking Superman around. And that was a pretty cool scene to see. It's honestly really cool for me to see John Henry Irons. It's the first time I've seen a live action version, as far as I know. And I really like his character in the comics. He's a big Justice League member, and he and Superman team up a lot. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with him later on. I hope they give him the whole steel armor by the end, and he and Superman end up fighting side by side. That would be pretty badass. But anyway, so the fight goes on. Jordan ends up hearing that Clark's in trouble. And I'm actually breaking down all these episodes. I don't know. I said I wasn't going to, but anyway, John and Jordan save Superman. I love seeing John Henry Irons. I hope we see more of him. But anyway, next episode, John Henry Irons is in prison. He basically explains to Superman that, he's evil on his Earth, and, they figure out that he was married to Lois on their Earth, and they end up stealing his trailer, and Lois and John look, at who he was and who he was married to, that he's got a daughter. Oh, and the reason he's called Captain Luthor is apparently he stole a ship from Lex Luthor on his Earth, and it's still, the AI still referred to its owner as, Lex Luthor, Captain Luthor, so that's why he's called that. But he, that suit he had at the beginning, apparently he made himself. It's not clear whether he inspired it or stole, parts from Lex Luthor to make it or not, but that's probably why it looks like Lex Luthor's suit. But anyway, that's why he's called Lex Luthor. He's not really Lex Luthor. And it seems like he left Natalie, his daughter, who in the comics, her name is Natasha, and she's his niece. But anyway, he left his daughter on their Earth. I don't know if she died or not. They haven't gotten that far yet, but it seems like he was trying to do something, and he ended up getting launched into our Earth, basically. I don't think they've really broken that down 100% yet, but for the most part, it seems like when he was flying the ship and evil Superman showed up and messed with the ship, so he ended up on our Earth. But now, he's hell-bent on destroying Superman, and this show comes up later where he explains everything to Superman, and Superman's like, I'm not that person, and, John Henry's like, but you're gonna be. And then there's actually this really cool storyline, or at least very emotional storyline, where Lois is really taken aback that John Henry's got a daughter named Natalie, because apparently Clark and Lois were supposed to have another child after the twins, and her name was going to be Natalie, but unfortunately Lois miscarried. And there's this whole part where Lois is really dealing with those emotions that are coming back to the surface after seeing John Henry Irons' daughter, and she gets really upset and really lashes out at John, and there's this whole therapy session, literally, where she's just really going through the emotions. And I gotta say, Elizabeth Tulloch does a great job, just really pouring on the emotions and really making you believe her character, and you really feel bad for her. And I gotta say, the writing, they really handled this whole situation well. It wasn't sappy, it wasn't melodramatic, it wasn't over dramatic. I think it was very realistic for how serious this, how serious the topic is. I think they handle it really well, so props to the writers. And while all this is going on, this one of Morgan Edge's minions shows up and tries to break out John Henry Irons, while at the same time basically prompting Superman to show up and fight him, but they end up sneaking into the DoD's lab of super, kryptonite weapons, and yada yada. Fight ensues. Superman beats the crap out of the guy. But then John Henry, it's basically a dollar store version of that scene in Batman v Superman where Batman's holding that spear over Superman, but instead this is John Henry. He finds a kryptonite spear and says that it was actually his favorite weapon on his Earth, and he points it. He almost kills Superman, but then Lois shows up and basically convinces him, these are different Earths. You're not, I'm not the Lois that you fell in love with. That isn't the Superman that killed your version of Lois. He's a very different person. He's a good man. And if you're wrong, if you kill this man who's a hero, how are you, are you really that much better than what you're trying to stop? So that ends up making him back down. And surprisingly enough, the DoD actually lets John Henry go. I'm sure it was probably Superman who convinced them, but they basically let him go, and he goes off into wherever characters go when they get written off for a few episodes. So yeah, that is pretty much it. That's pretty much where we left it last time, unless I haven't seen episode 9. So, oh yeah, also one other thing. So apparently it seems like not only is Morgan Edge giving these people powers with the X-Kryptonite, it seems like he's also putting the minds of Kryptonians into them. We don't exactly know how, but there was a machine that we saw in one of the episodes. Leslie Larr was putting that missing miner in that machine, so it seems like maybe they give them the powers, and then they put the Kryptonians. But where the Kryptonian consciousness coming from? Are they just hanging out in crystals or something? So that's an interesting plot point. I feel like by the end of this show, we're gonna see a lot of Kryptonian people showing up, and Superman's kind of got to choose, whether he's gonna help them or not. Which of course he's not. That's an interesting thing about Man of Steel, is basically in that version, Superman from the very beginning had to choose, his homeworld Krypton or Earth, and he obviously chose Earth when he destroyed the Genesis Chamber, when he killed Zod, all that stuff. But in this version, it seems like Superman hasn't had that moment where he's chosen Earth over Krypton. He hasn't had that chance or that opportunity, so that'll be interesting to see. But all that to say, really good series so far. I'm blabbing too much. But yeah, really enjoying it. Really looking forward to seeing what's next with this series. And I really, like I said, I really hope we get to see a Steel Superman team up. And yeah, this is going to be the last Superman and Lois review until the end of this season, because Loki is starting, and me and Luke are going to be doing Loki episode reviews every Friday. So I know Loki actually just came out today, So don't expect a review until this Friday. They're going to be coming out every Friday because we're just not in the position to watch the episode, record it, edit it, and have it out all on the same day. We got a lot of other responsibilities. But you will be seeing our reviews on Friday, so keep your eyes peeled for those. And enough talking. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you're not already, please subscribe, hit the bell button. We upload like 3 times a week. And be sure to check out our social media, our Instagram, our Facebook group, and check out our new podcast. We have a new schedule. Those are going to be coming out every second and fourth Friday of every month. So check those out. We're just going to be breaking down news and having a special fun theme every episode. So check out our podcast. All those links in the description. And I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.